I bought a house in secret, then caught my mom giving a tour to my brother's wife and a friend. I smiled, waited for them to leave. Then changed every lock. I bought a house in secret, then caught my mom giving a tour to my brother's wife and a friend. I smiled, waited for them to leave, then changed every lock. You know that feeling when you're about to do something that will change everything? That electric buzz in your chest that says you're either about to make the best decision of your life or the worst mistake. Well, I had both sensations coursing through me as I signed the papers for 1247 Oakwood Avenue. My name is Lauren, and 6 months ago, I did something my family would never see coming. I bought a house. Not just any house. A stunning 4-bedroom colonial in the heart of Willowbrook Heights, complete with bay windows, original crown molding, and a kitchen that belonged in Southern Living magazine. The kind of place I'd dreamed about since I was 12 years old, sketching floor plans in my notebooks during algebra class. But here's the thing, I didn't tell anyone. Not my parents, not my brother Connor, not even my best friend, Brooklyn. The house was my secret, my sanctuary, my chance to finally have something that was completely and utterly mine. Growing up as the middle child in the Mitchell family meant I was used to being overlooked. Connor, my older brother, was the golden boy, star linebacker in high school, business degree from Duke, married to his college sweetheart, Natalie, and now running Dad's real estate development firm. Then there was my younger sister, Harper, the creative one, currently getting her fine arts degree at Savannah College of Art and Design on my parents' dime. And me? I was just Lauren, the practical one, the one who worked 2 jobs through community college, who saved every penny, who never asked for anything. While Connor got a down payment gift for his first house, and Harper got tuition money, I got lectures about being more responsible with my finances. So when I finally had enough saved for a down payment, after 5 years of working as a veterinary technician and running a small pet photography business on weekends, I decided to prove just how responsible I could be. I found the perfect house, got pre-approved for a mortgage, and made an offer without breathing a word to anyone. The seller, Mrs. Rodriguez, was moving to Arizona to be closer to her grandchildren. She loved that a young woman was buying her family home, the place where she'd raised her own children. During the walkthrough, she told me stories about birthday parties in the backyard, Thanksgiving dinners around the dining room table, and how the kitchen window had the perfect view for watching neighborhood kids wait for the school bus. This house needs a family again, she said, pressing the keys into my palm on closing day. It's been waiting for the right person. I spent 3 months secretly furnishing it, piece by piece. I'd drive there after work, sometimes just to sit on the front steps and watch the sunset paint the sky purple and gold. I planted daffodil bulbs in the front flower bed and hung fairy lights around the back patio. I even adopted a rescue dog, a golden retriever mix I named Biscuit, who seemed to understand that our little secret was precious. The plan was simple. I'd live there quietly for a few months, get settled, then surprise my family during Thanksgiving dinner with a big reveal. I'd casually mention my new place and watch their faces when they realized their irresponsible daughter had bought a house all on her own. But life has a funny way of ruining even the best-laid plans. It was a Wednesday morning in late October when everything started to unravel. I was at work giving a golden retriever named Zeus his annual shots and listening to his owner complain about her teenager's driving habits when my phone buzzed with a notification from my security camera app. Yes, I'd installed security cameras, sue me. I'm a single woman living alone, and after watching too many true crime podcasts, I wasn't taking any chances. The cameras were discreet, positioned to monitor the front door, back door, and driveway. I rarely checked them during work hours, but something made me glance at my phone between appointments. My blood turned to ice water. There, clear as day on my front porch, stood my mother. And she wasn't alone. Natalie, Connor's wife, was with her, along with someone I didn't recognize, a brunette woman in an expensive-looking blazer. Mom was fumbling with something in her purse. And then she pulled out a key to my house. I watched in horror as my mother unlocked my front door and gestured for the other women to follow her inside. The timestamp showed they'd been there for 10 minutes already. Mrs. Thompson, I'm so sorry, but I have a family emergency, I said, my voice somehow steady despite the earthquake happening in my chest. We'll need to reschedule Zeus's appointment. I drove home like a woman possessed, my mind racing with questions. How did Mom get a key? How did she even know about the house? And what the hell was she doing giving tours to Connor's wife and some random stranger? By the time I reached Oakwood Avenue, the women were gone, but the evidence of their visit was everywhere. The front door was slightly ajar. Mom had always been careless about locking up. Inside, I could see the signs of their intrusion: moved furniture, opened cabinets, even the refrigerator door left slightly open. But it was the note on my kitchen counter that really sent me over the edge. Written in Mom's familiar handwriting: "Lauren honey, I know you're upset, but this is for the best. Natalie and Patricia, my realtor friend, think this place has real potential. We'll talk tonight. Love, Mom. P.S. Cute dog." I sat down hard on my couch, the couch I'd saved for 4 months to buy, the couch I'd carefully chosen to fit perfectly in this space, and tried to process what was happening. My mother had somehow discovered my house, gotten a key, and was now showing it to potential buyers without my knowledge or consent. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about the house. It was about everything. Every time I'd been overlooked, every time my achievements had been minimized, every time I'd been treated like the afterthought child who couldn't possibly know what was best for herself. I called Mom immediately. "Oh good, you got my note," she chirped, as if breaking into someone's house was just another Wednesday activity. "Listen, sweetie, I know you're probably confused." Confused? I interrupted. "Mom, how did you get a key to my house?" "Well, Mrs. Rodriguez's niece is in my yoga class, and when she mentioned selling to a young Mitchell girl, I put 2 and 2 together. I've been worried sick about you living in that neighborhood all alone. It's not safe for a single woman. And honestly, the mortgage must be stretching your budget thin." The neighborhood wasn't unsafe. It was actually one of the nicer areas in town. But that was beside the point. "So you got a spare key and decided to show my house to strangers?" Natalie mentioned that she and Connor might be interested in a rental property as an investment, and Patricia is the best realtor in the county. I thought. I hung up. That evening, my phone rang non-stop. First Mom, then Connor, then even Dad chimed in with his usual, "Let's all just calm down and talk about this reasonably" approach. I ignored them all and spent the evening researching locksmiths. But avoidance only works for so long. The next day, Connor showed up at my work. "Lauren, we need to talk," he said, using the childhood nickname that usually melted my defenses. "Not now, Connor. I'm working." Mom told me what happened. Look, I had no idea she was going to do that, okay? Natalie mentioned wanting to look at investment properties and Mom just, you know how she gets when she thinks she's helping. I finished updating my patience chart before looking at him. Connor was still handsome at 34, with the same dark hair and blue eyes we'd all inherited from Dad. He was wearing his usual uniform of dress pants and a polo shirt, looking every inch the successful businessman. "How long have you known?" I asked. "Known what?" "About the house, Connor. How long have you known I bought a house?" He had the grace to look ashamed. "Mom figured it out about a month ago. She was worried about you, said you'd been acting strange, secretive. She asked me to talk to you, but I told her to mind her own business. Clearly, she listened to that advice." "Connor, come on. She's just trying to look out for you. That neighborhood is perfectly safe," I finished. "And even if it wasn't, it's my choice to make. I'm 29 years old, Connor. I don't need Mom's permission to buy a house." "Of course not. But maybe you could have mentioned it? We're family." That word, family, hung between us like a challenge. Because what he really meant was families don't keep secrets from each other. Families talk about big decisions. Families ask for advice and input and approval. But in my experience, family meant different things for different people. For Connor, family meant unconditional support and celebration of every milestone. For Harper, it meant financial backing and cheerleading for every artistic endeavor. For me, it meant skepticism, lectures about practicality, and the assumption that I couldn't handle adult decisions on my own. "I'll call Mom tonight," I said finally. "But Connor, if you or Natalie or anyone else shows up at my house uninvited again, I'm calling the police." "That's not a threat. It's a promise." Connor's face flushed red. "Jesus, Lauren. She's our mother, not some criminal. She broke into my house. She has a key that I didn't give her." The waiting room was starting to stare, so I lowered my voice. "I have to get back to work. We'll talk later." But as Connor left, I could see the familiar expression on his face, the same look he'd worn when we were kids and I'd done something he couldn't understand. It was a mixture of frustration and pity, as if I was being deliberately difficult instead of standing up for myself. That night, I called a locksmith. "Lauren Marie Mitchell, you open this door right now." Mom's voice carried clearly through my new deadbolt lock as she pounded on my front door Thursday evening. I sat curled up on my couch with Biscuit's head in my lap, watching through the window as she jabbed angrily at the doorbell. "I know you're in there. Your Jeep is in the driveway." I'd been expecting this ever since the locksmith left that morning. Marcus from Secure Home Solutions had done an excellent job: new deadbolts, new doorknob locks, even a new lock on the back gate. When I'd explained the situation, diplomatically calling it a family boundary issue, he'd nodded knowingly. "Family disputes are the worst," he'd said, testing the smooth turn of the new keys. "Good for you for taking control of your space." Now, watching Mom's increasingly frantic attempts to get inside, I felt a strange mixture of satisfaction and guilt. The satisfaction was winning. My phone rang. "Mom, of course. Lauren, this is ridiculous. Open the door so we can talk like adults." "We can talk through the door, Mom. Or you can call first next time like a normal person." Normal people don't change their locks to keep their mothers out. Normal mothers don't break into their children's houses. There was a pause, and I could practically hear her recalibrating her approach. "Honey, I understand you're upset. I should have asked permission before showing the house, but I was genuinely worried about you. This neighborhood, this mortgage payment, it's too much for someone in your position." "My position?" "You know what I mean. You're doing well for yourself, sweetheart, but this house is ambitious. Connor and Natalie could help you with the financial burden if you rented it to them. Or if the market's good, you could sell and make a nice profit. Get something more appropriate." Appropriate. There was that word again. The one that had followed me my entire life. Lauren's career choice was appropriate for someone who wasn't college material. Her apartment was appropriate for a single woman. Her car was appropriate for her budget. But this house, this beautiful, perfect house that I bought with my own money, my own credit, my own hard work, apparently, this was not appropriate for someone like me. "Mom, I'm not selling my house. But if you just listen to Patricia's advice." "I don't care about Patricia's advice. I don't care about Connor and Natalie's investment plans. This is my house, and I'm keeping it." "Lauren Marie, you're being stubborn and short-sighted. This is exactly the kind of impulsive decision-making that worries your father and me. You can't just shut out your family when we're trying to help you." I walked to the window and looked out at her. Even in the porch light, I could see the familiar expression of frustrated concern that she wore whenever I did something she couldn't control. "I'm not shutting out my family, Mom. I'm setting boundaries. If you want to visit my house, you call first and ask permission. If I say no, you respect that. And you definitely don't give tours to people without my consent. I was trying to help you see your options. I didn't ask for your help." The line went quiet for a long moment. When Mom spoke again, her voice was tight with hurt and anger. "Fine. Have it your way. But don't come crying to us when this house becomes too much to handle. And don't expect us to bail you out when you realize you've made a mistake." She hung up. Through the window, I watched her march back to her car, Dad's old Chevy Tahoe, and drive away with more force than necessary. I should have felt victorious. I should have felt empowered and strong and proud of myself for standing my ground. Instead, I felt terribly, achingly alone. The next 2 weeks were some of the loneliest of my life. No calls from Mom, no texts from Connor. Even Harper, who usually stayed out of family drama, sent only a brief message, heard about the house situation. Maybe just apologize and move on. Apologize for what? For buying a house? For wanting privacy? For refusing to let my family make decisions about my life without consulting me? I threw myself into making my house feel more like home. I painted the guest bedroom a soft sage green, installed floating shelves in the living room, and finally hung the gallery wall of pet photographs I'd been planning for months. Biscuit supervised every project from his favorite sunny spot by the sliding glass door. But even the satisfaction of creating my perfect space couldn't completely fill the hollow feeling in my chest. I'd gotten what I wanted: independence, boundaries, respect for my choices, but the cost was starting to feel heavier than I'd anticipated. That's when Brooklyn showed up with takeout from Tony's Italian and a bottle of wine. "Okay, spill," she said, settling cross-legged on my living room floor with her chicken Alfredo. "I heard through the grapevine that you bought a house and are currently feuding with the entire Mitchell clan. As your best friend, I'm deeply offended that I had to learn this from my dental hygienist, whose sister works at the title company." Brooklyn had been my closest friend since we'd bonded over terrible cafeteria tacos in 7th grade. She was the only person who'd never made me feel like I needed to apologize for existing, which was probably why I'd been avoiding her. I knew she'd ask the hard questions I wasn't ready to answer. "I wasn't trying to hurt anyone," I said, surprising myself by how defensive I sounded. "I just wanted something that was mine, you know? Something that no one could have opinions about or try to fix or improve. And instead of just enjoying your gorgeous house, which is absolutely stunning by the way, you're sitting here eating sad turkey sandwiches and brooding like a character in a Jane Austen novel." She wasn't wrong. I had been eating a lot of sad turkey sandwiches. "Brooke, they don't respect me. They never have. Mom got a key to my house from someone else's niece and gave tours like it was her property to show off. Connor thought it was perfectly reasonable for them to discuss my financial decisions behind my back. Even Dad just wants me to compromise and see their side. So what's your endgame here? Never speak to them again." I stared at the wine in my glass, watching the light from my new chandelier create patterns on the surface. "I don't know." But I was about to find out that there was more to this story than I realized. 3 days later, everything changed again. I was leaving work when I spotted Connor's black Ram pickup in the parking lot, but instead of Connor behind the wheel, it was Natalie. My sister-in-law rolled down the window as I approached my Jeep Cherokee, her expression unreadable. "Can we talk?" she asked. Natalie and I had always had a polite but distant relationship. She was everything I wasn't, blonde, vivacious, with a marketing degree and a talent for making Connor feel like the center of the universe. We'd never had a real conversation beyond pleasantries at family gatherings. "If this is about the house situation." "It is, but probably not the way you think." She gestured to the passenger seat. "Please. 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I got in the truck. Natalie immediately turned to face me, her usual bright smile replaced by something more serious. "I owe you an apology," she said. "A big one." That wasn't what I'd expected. Connor doesn't know I'm here, and he'd probably be furious if he found out. But I can't let this go on without telling you the truth. "What truth?" Natalie took a deep breath. "Your mom didn't just randomly decide to show me your house. I asked her to." My stomach dropped. "What?" "Not the way it sounds," she rushed to explain. "God, this is coming out all wrong. Look, Connor and I have been having problems. Financial problems. His dad's company is struggling more than anyone wants to admit, and we're behind on our mortgage. Connor's too proud to tell your parents how bad things really are." I stared at her, trying to process this information. Connor, the golden boy, was having money problems? When your mom mentioned that you'd bought a house, and I swear, Lauren, I had no idea you were keeping it secret, I got this desperate idea. I thought maybe you'd be willing to rent out a room, or even let us house sit sometimes. I wasn't trying to take your house or anything like that. I was just drowning and grasping at straws. The pieces were starting to fall into place, but they were forming a picture I didn't like. "So you asked Mom to show you around?" "I asked if she thought you might be open to having roommates. She said she'd look into it." I had no idea she was going to break in with some realtor. When Connor told me what happened, I felt sick. This whole mess is my fault. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of family secrets and unspoken struggles settling between us. Why didn't Connor just ask me for help? I asked finally. Natalie laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. "Pride, I guess. He's supposed to be the successful one, remember? The one who has it all figured out. Asking his little sister for help would mean admitting that he doesn't." Little sister. Even Natalie saw me that way. "I'm not little anymore," I said quietly. "No," Natalie agreed, looking around at my car, my work badge, the evidence of my independent life. "You're really not. And for what it's worth, your house is beautiful. You should be proud of what you've accomplished." It was the first time anyone in my family had said that. But the biggest surprise was yet to come. That weekend, I made a decision that surprised even me. I invited them all over for dinner. Mom, Dad, Connor, Natalie, even Hopper drove down from Georgia. I sent a group text Saturday morning, family dinner at my place Sunday at 6 o'clock. Dress casual. I'm cooking. The responses came in a flurry of confused emojis and tentative acceptances. Mom called twice, but I let it go to voicemail. I had things to prepare. Sunday evening, I watched from my kitchen window as they pulled into my driveway. Mom emerged from Dad's Silverado, looking nervous. Connor and Natalie climbed out of the Ram, Natalie carrying what looked like a bottle of wine. Hopper arrived last in her beat-up Honda Accord, her auburn hair escaping from a messy bun. I opened the door before they could knock. "Welcome to my home," I said, stepping aside to let them in. The tour I gave them was nothing like the unauthorized one Mom had conducted. I showed them every room with pride, explaining my decorating choices, pointing out the original architectural details, introducing them to Biscuit. I watched their faces as they took in the space I'd created, really looked at it, maybe for the first time. "Lauren, this is," Dad started, then seemed to lose words. He ran his hand along the restored banister in the entryway, his contractor's eye appreciating the craftsmanship. "It's incredible," Hopper finished. "I can't believe you did all this yourself." Over dinner, homemade beef stew, cornbread, and a salad from vegetables I'd grown in my backyard garden, I told them the whole story. How I'd saved for 5 years. How I'd researched neighborhoods and mortgage rates and home inspections. How I'd fallen in love with this house the moment I saw the listing. "But why didn't you tell us?" Mom asked, her voice small. "We could have helped." "Because I wanted to do it myself," I said simply. "Because every time I've made a decision in my life, someone in this family has had an opinion about how I could do it better. I wanted one thing, just one thing, that was completely mine." Connor shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "We don't do that, do we?" I looked around the table. "Connor, when I started my photography business, what did you say?" He was quiet. "You said it was cute that I had a little side hustle to keep me busy." "Dad, when I got promoted to lead veterinary technician, you said it was good experience for when I decided to do something more serious with my life." "Mom, when I bought my Jeep, you spent an hour explaining why a sedan would have been more practical." The silence stretched uncomfortably. "I love you all," I continued. "But I needed to prove to myself that I could make good decisions without a committee. And I did. I bought a house, and it's perfect, and I'm proud of myself." Natalie spoke up suddenly. "I owe you an apology too, about the whole rental thing. I should have talked to you directly instead of going through your mom." Connor looked at his wife in surprise, clearly hearing this part of the story for the first time. "Money problems?" I asked gently. Connor's jaw tightened, but Natalie nodded. "The development business has been slow. We're managing, but it's been stressful." I looked at my brother, really looked at him. For the first time, I could see the stress lines around his eyes, the way his shoulders carried tension. The golden boy wasn't as golden as everyone thought. "If you need help," I started. "We don't need," Connor began automatically, then stopped himself. "Sorry. Old habits." "If you need help," I repeated firmly, "you can ask me. But you ask me directly, and you respect whatever answer I give. Deal?" He nodded, looking slightly stunned. "And Mom?" I turned to face her. "I need you to understand something. I'm not angry because you were trying to help. I'm angry because you didn't trust me to know what I needed. Getting a key to my house without asking, bringing strangers inside, making plans for my property, that's not help. That's control." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "I just worry about you. You're so independent, so determined to do everything alone. I wanted to make sure you had options. I appreciate that you worry, but I need you to trust that I can handle my own life. Even if I make mistakes, they're mine to make." We talked until almost midnight, clearing the air about decades of misunderstandings and unspoken expectations. It wasn't a perfect conversation. There were tears, raised voices, and moments when I thought someone might storm out. But it was honest in a way our family hadn't been in years. When they finally left, Mom hugged me extra tight at the door. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. "I should have said that first." As I watched their taillights disappear down Oakwood Avenue, I felt something shift inside my chest. The hollow feeling that had been my constant companion for weeks was finally starting to fill with something warmer. I was still standing in my doorway when my phone buzzed with a text from Connor. "Thanks for dinner. The house is amazing. You did good, sis." For the first time in months, I fell asleep that night feeling like I truly belonged somewhere. Not just in my house, but in my family. The difference was that now I belonged on my own terms. And sometimes, that makes all the difference in the world. 6 months later, my house has become the unofficial gathering place for family dinners. Connor and Natalie are slowly getting back on their feet, and they've never once asked about renting a room. Mom calls before she visits, and she started bringing homemade cookies for Biscuit. Hopper painted a beautiful mural in my guest bathroom as a housewarming gift. And Dad? Well, he spent last weekend helping me build a deck in the backyard, telling me how proud he was of the quality of my home inspection. The house on Oakwood Avenue taught me something important. Sometimes you have to break a few locks to build the right doors.